Hi there, it's Rob from Onstage Lighting. Welcome to another of our AutoCAD for Theatre tutorials. In this tutorial we're going to be looking at copying and moving things we've already drawn. So in previous tutorials we've learned how to draw stuff to size, particularly the rectangles and the circles. And so basically using those things we've drawn, we can use the geometry again by copying things up, which is often called duplicate in CAD. And we also can move things around from the original position that we drew them in. The thing about moving them from their original position is if you're just trying to draw stuff quite quickly, sometimes it makes sense to draw things in the right place, but sometimes it makes more sense to draw them somewhere else, maybe in relationship to other objects, and then move them into position. You can do this in a few different ways, and we'll look at some ways in which we can do that. The good thing about duplication of geometry, whether it be lines or circles or things we've made up, from more complex shapes, is that you can duplicate them in order to make new ones. We're also going to look at a way of mirroring objects as well, so that we can then create a new object which is the mirror image of the one that we created in the first place. So let's go over to AutoCAD then. I'm just going to draw up something here. I'm going to specify any particular layer, doesn't matter. We're going to call it our venue layer for today, and I'm not going to draw anything particularly to size. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to draw out a couple of shapes. So I've drawn my first rectangle there. Now if you remember from previous videos, if I try to draw another rectangle, I can't draw one because I've basically gone back to the selection tool. The thing to do with AutoCAD is to get used to using with your left hand on the keyboard and your right hand on the mouse, if you're conventionally handed in your use of computers, is to get used to typing things into the keyboard and then using your right thumb on the spacebar to enter. So if I wanted to draw another rectangle, I can start typing REC. You can see on the list there it gives me a rectangle, and then with my left thumb I just hit spacebar. So I'm going to draw another rectangle here, and if you remember again, if I needed to draw another one, I'd have to type this again, and then I'd need to draw the last one. This isn't anything particular, this bit of geometry, it's just to show you what we're going to do when we copy things and move things. The first thing I want to do though is I want to group all these objects together. It's just a way, group is a way of basically adding lots of lines and shapes in and make them one object which is selectable in one go. Quite a lot of the time there's reasons why you might not want to group things, you might want to draw things in other ways. But in order to do that, we basically need to do two things. We need to select the objects that go into the group, and then we need to actually group them. So in AutoCAD you can do things in two ways. Sometimes you can ask AutoCAD to make you a group, and then it will ask you to select the objects you want to go in that group. Actually in this instance the quickest thing to do is to actually just select everything you want to go in the group, like that. So you can see they've got all the selection boxes, little bounding boxes around them. And then to group it, there's lots of ways of doing it. You can do it in the menu system, you can do it with a shortcut. I would normally use a shortcut. For today we're just going to start typing GR, and you see it gives us gradient. We don't want that because that's something else. GRO, group. Hit enter or spacebar, and what that's done is it's now created this one object which is selectable in one hit. Okay, so that's great, we want that object, but what we want is we want another object the same as it. And we're not going to go into some more of the complex uses of things like blocks. We'll do that in future tutorials. But for this one, the first thing we want to do is we want to just make a new version of it. So that in AutoCAD and lots of CAD software is often called duplicate. So if we select our object up here, start typing DU, and it gives us duplicate, which says copy. So basically what happens is you then hit enter, and now what asks me, you think, oh, where's the duplicate gone? What's happening now? What it's actually asking for is it's actually asking for a base point. So it's asking me to specify where I want to start my duplicate from, and then I'm going to end up placing it using that base point. Now in this instance I'm going to pick this bottom corner here. Now if you remember, down here on the snaps menu I've actually got my object snap on, so I can actually select it with a little green spot like that. When it comes up, I can hit the corner placement. Now you can see now, what I'm now doing is I've got this duplicate which I can drop in different ways. Now at the moment I can drop it using my mouse, or if you see also, there's also the numbers that which you can specify where the actual point itself is. So you could say it was so many millimeters to the right. And there's two numbers there. The first number is the number of millimeters to the right or left, and then the second number is the angle of which it goes at. So if you can see, if I go up here, it starts to go to 45 degrees. What I'm just going to do here for the minute is I'm going to drop that down on that corner there, and that's created the second object. It can also, if you noticed, I can then also drop another object. Basically, until you've finished, you can either hit enter with your final one, or you can just, when you've finished duplicating things, you can just hit escape. Then you've stopped duplicating things, but until you do that, you can keep adding more duplicates. So we could add one here, for example. I could add one over here. What I can't do from this corner, if you can see, is I can't snap the bottom right hand corner of this duplicate to this other area here, because the point which I picked it up in is the bottom left corner. So you can have a bit of a play around with that. I just drop it there for a minute, and now I've finished, so I'm just going to hit escape and finish all those duplicates. If you remember, if you want to remove something, just select it up, hit backspace, and it goes away. Now we've created a duplicate here. What I really want to do now, instead of creating this duplicate, what I really want to do is I want to just move the object I've got. And I'm going to move it to a specific point based on the actual dimension that I've got. So this time, instead of hitting duplicate, I need to select the object up, start typing move, which is good old M or MO, and you'll see it says move. And then, like we did when we duplicated the object, we need to specify the base point. In this case, I think I want the base point to be this bottom right hand corner. So I'm selecting that up, and now you can see I've got the option to move it around. Now if I had some more geometry in this drawing, of course I could drop it down on the thing I wanted it to do. And it doesn't have to be a corner, it could be the center point or a midpoint or something. Now what I'm going to do at the moment is I'm actually just going to put this object at 500 mil back in this direction, back towards the left. Now I could try and place it by hand, or I could move it around using different locks and that sort of thing, but what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to type into my angle, and the first number is going to be 180 and the second number is going to be 500. Obviously, in order to get it to go 500 backwards, I had to re-angle it through 180 to get it to go backwards this way. You can have a bit of an experiment with that. You can type the numbers in by hand, or you can select the object itself, and then you could type MO, give you a move, make sure you do have move and not one of the other options, select a base point, and then drop it somewhere else. If you see, you can actually drop the base point on an existing point on the drawing, so that's quite cool. So but you can basically use those things. So similar to duplicate, move basically does the same thing, only it doesn't create another object, but you handle it in the same way. Finally, I was just going to look at mirror. Mirrors kind of duplicate, but it flips an object. So what I'm going to do here is I want the same as this particular group object here, but I want it the other way around. What I need to do is select the object up first. As I say, a lot of things on AutoCAD, you can select the object after you've asked it to do the particular thing, in this case mirror. I tend to select the objects first and then go into mirror, so it's MI, which is mirror. And now you see it says specify first point on mirror line. Now what that is that it's going to basically put a plane, a mirror plane, in the drawing so that the thing can be mirrored around it. So for example, let me show you here. If I'm just going to drop this line down here, you can see I'm just holding on to the orthogonal lock at the moment, so I've got shift down, so I've got a straight up and down line. You can see it's made the mirror there. If I put it at an angle, you can see it's mirroring it at a different angle. Quite often mirror, you just want a straight up and down mirror, like for instance a proscenium in a theatre or something. You don't need anything complicated, so you just create a mirror like this. And the next thing it says is erase source object, and you basically need to type in yes or no. What it means is, do you want me to mirror and flip this particular object and get rid of the old one, so basically move the object into a mirror plane but not keep it, or do you want to have the mirror object the same? Now at the moment it's defaulting to no, so which is what I'm going to go for. So I'm going to hit no, or hit N and then enter, and now you see we've got two mirrored objects there. Hopefully that's been useful. There's a few ways of extending your drawing by using these tools, copying particular a mirror, and also to be able to move things around if you draw them in a place and then subsequently need to put them somewhere else in the drawing. See you soon.